commemoration of the holy priest and prophet Zacharias and of Holy Elizabeth, mother of St. John the Baptist, precursor of our Lord Jesus Christ. But first, a glance at the obduracy of the Pharisees of the time. How obdurate and obstinate the priests and the Pharisees of the temple were, may be discovered from the small esteem in which they held the distinctions bestowed upon the Holy Family. First Joachim's offering was rejected, but after some months both his own and his wife's were, by God's command, received. Joachim was admitted even into the presence of the Holy of Holies, and he, as well as Anne, was though unknown to each other led into the passage under the temple. There they met, Mary was conceived, and priests awaited them at the entrance of this cave under the temple. All that took place by God's command. I have seen that sometimes, though not often, the sterile were commanded to be led in there. Mary entered the temple in her 4th year, and in all things was she distinguished and remarkable. The sister of Lazarus's mother was her teacher and nurse. Her whole manner of acting was so remarkable, so marvelous, that I have seen great rolls written by aged priests about her. I think they still lie hidden with other writings. Then came the wonderful manifestations at Joseph's espousals and the blossoming of his rod, the accounts of the 3 kings and of the shepherds, the presentation of Jesus, Anna's and Simeon's testimony, and the teaching of Jesus at the age of 12 in the temple. But all this, the priests and Pharisees noticed not. Their mind was preoccupied by business and court affairs. Because the Holy Family lived in voluntary retirement and poverty, they were forgotten in the crowd. The more enlightened, however, such as Simeon, Anna, and others, knew of them. But when Jesus appeared and John bore witness to him, the teaching of the Pharisees was so directly contradictory that, even if the signs of his coming had not been forgotten by them, they would certainly not have made them known. Herod's reign and the Roman yoke had so involved them in quarrels and intrigues that their taste for spiritual things was weakened. They did not esteem John's testimony, and they soon forgot him after he was beheaded. They cared little for the teaching and miracles of Jesus, and their ideas of the prophets and the Messiah were altogether erroneous. It is not surprising, therefore, that they so shamefully treated Jesus, and put him to death, that they disavowed his resurrection, the wonderful signs that followed it, and even the fulfillment of his prophecy respecting the destruction of Jerusalem. Nor is it to be wondered at that they neglected the signs that heralded his advent, since he had not at that time either taught or wrought miracles. Were the blindness, the obduracy of these men not so incomprehensibly great, could it have lasted even to this day? When I go over the way of the cross in Jerusalem of the present day, I frequently see under a certain ruined building a large vault, or many adjoining vaults, which are partly fallen in and filled with water. Standing in the midst of the water, which rises almost to a level with it, is a table. From the center of the table to the roof of the vault, rises a pillar around which are hung little coffers filled with rolls of writings. Under the table also I saw rolls lying in the water. Perhaps these vaults were once burial places. They lie under Mount Calvary. I think the ruined building is the house wherein Pilate once dwelt, and the treasure will after some time be discovered. John promised to Zacharias. I saw Zacharias conversing with Elizabeth. He was telling her how sad he was because his turn to offer sacrifice in the temple was drawing near, and how he dreaded the contempt that would there await him on account of his being childless. Zacharias went twice a year to the temple. He did not live at Hebron itself, but at a place called Judah, about 15 minutes' walk from Hebron. The ruins of former buildings still lay between the 2 places, leading one to fancy that they had once been connected. Many such ruins were to be found on the other side of Hebron, for the place was once as large as Jerusalem. At Hebron dwelt priests of a lower degree. In Judah, those of a higher rank. Zacharias seemed to be the superior of them all. He and Elizabeth were regarded with extraordinary veneration from the fact of both having descended in a direct line from the race of Aaron. I saw Zacharias with many people of this locality, going to a little property that he owned in the neighborhood of Judah. It consisted of a house, an orchard, and a spring. I saw him there also with the Holy Family at the time of Mary's visitation. At the period of which I am speaking, Zacharias was teaching the people and praying with them. It seemed to be a preparation for a feast. He told them of his great dejection, and of his presentiment that something remarkable was going to happen to him. Again I saw Zacharias with the same people going to Jerusalem, where he had to wait 4 days before his turn to sacrifice came round. Until that time, He prayed in the foyer part of the temple. At last, when his turn came, he went into the sanctuary outside the entrance to the Holy of Holies. The roof over the altar of incense was opened so that the sky could be seen. The priest offering sacrifice was not visible to those outside. A partition concealed him, but the smoke of the incense could be seen rising. I think Zacharias told the other priests that he must be left alone, for I saw them leaving the sanctuary. Zacharias went into the Holy of Holies where it was dark. It appeared to me that he took the tables of the law out of the Ark of the Covenant, and laid them upon the golden altar of incense. When he kindled the incense, I saw to the right of the altar a light coming down on him and in a luminous figure. Zacharias, frightened, stepped back and sank, as if in ecstasy, at the right side of the altar. The angel raised him up and spoke some words to him. Zacharias replied. Then I saw something like a ladder let down from heaven, and two angels ascending and descending to him. One took something from him, but the other, after Zacharias had opened his garment, inserted the shining little body in his side. Zacharias had become dumb. I saw him before leaving the Holy of Holies, writing on a little tablet that lay there. This tablet he sent at once to Elizabeth, who likewise had had a vision at that same hour. I saw that the people outside were troubled and anxious on account of Zacharias remaining so long in the sanctuary. They were even moving toward the door to open it, when Zacharias replaced the tables in the ark and came forth. The crowd questioned him about his long stay in the sanctuary. He tried to answer, but could not. He signified to them by signs that he had become dumb, and went away. Zacharias was a tall and exceedingly majestic old man. Amen.